The risk of rising sea levels was in full view in the winter of 2019. A Pacific storm relentlessly pushed 10 to 15-foot waves at the shore. At the same time, a king tide was raising sea levels more than a foot above normal high tides. The result was predictable, and Seacoast Drive got soaked.
High tide events, you couple that with rain events, you couple that with wave events, you pretty much have created the perfect storm for a situation like these particular houses.
Julia Felder is a Scripps Institution of Oceanography researcher who's been tracking sea levels along the Imperial Beach shore for years.
Where you're going to get flooding from the coast, you're going to get flooding from inland, and it all sort of combines to make everything wet.
Just a few years later, waves are washing over the coastal armaments on regular sunny days with normal 6-foot high tides. And the rising water is making its presence felt inland, far away from the shore.
These things are really heavy. There we go.
Chris Elmer works for the Imperial Beach Public Works Department. He's looking into a manhole on the western edge of town.
Well, looking down here, you can actually see the water coming up in our storm drain system.
Even on a clear day, there is standing water in a pipe that's supposed to flush rainwater out of the town and into the Tijuana estuary. Hassan Devani works for San Diego State University. He's studying how the rising local groundwater table is leading to what he calls compound flooding.
Most studies so far, they're focusing on sea level impacts along the coastline, but now you have this whole urban system with most things underground, and now you need to deal with it because groundwater is rising.
The rising sea level is pushing seawater inland, under the ground, and since seawater is heavier than fresh, they collide, pushing up the underground freshwater table.
Rising sea level is happening, and now we can show it is actually more urgent than we were thinking about, because previous studies focused on coastline and only above the ground interactions. Now we're talking underground. So the issue of compound flooding, when a typical rain can cause flooding, that's the one we expect to get worse.
And it doesn't help that the city's stormwater infrastructure is aging.
We know every pipe has a crack, and then once the soil is saturated, it finds its way, it infiltrates into the pipe. So then if we can conserve rainwater in any way, if we can do rainwater harvesting kind of indirectly.
The idea is to have the entire community, every home and apartment, add rain barrels to take pressure off the aging stormwater system. Jennifer Gailey sells rain barrels at the Solana Center for Environmental Innovation. She's not convinced it's a complete solution.
Here's the problem, and here is part of the solution. And because I think that is what it's going to end up being. It's part of the solution is getting these rain barrels.
That'll leave the city with some difficult choices. Street flooding already happens in inland areas far away from the beach, and flooding will become more serious as sea levels continue to rise.
Imperial Beach it's almost kind of like a canary in a coal mine in terms of understanding what the future will hold in terms of adaptation. You know, the tools that the city is taking in order to understand, you know, how to mitigate what might be coming.
The challenge for Imperial Beach officials is to find solutions that don't bankrupt the city's treasury. Erik Anderson, KPBS News.